Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nice to Meet You. This is your host, Simone, and this is the podcast of conversations with friends and strangers where we talk about life and lessons learned along the way. So, as I mentioned on Instagram, I'll be doing sort of a different style of episodes in order to highlight the conversations that I've had and that I've been going back and listening to since the anniversary is coming up. And I just wanted to share like what I've been hearing with you guys. Because I know that sometimes people just don't go back and listen to old things. So, like, I don't know. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoy. This episode is about astrology and spirituality because religion and all encompassing are, you know, some of my favorite topics to talk about since growing up and really trying to get out there and explore on my own and figure out what the world means to me and how I should be and how I should, you know, really orient myself in this world. You know, it's been something that I really enjoy talking about. And I know that you guys have probably noticed that on the podcast. And yeah, so I guess we can get into this episode. But I do have one disclaimer. I promise you I'm not against like organized religion, but I am very interested in spirituality and what that entails. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. We're starting off with Tyasia, where we chat about all the different systems that she takes into account to understand the world around her.
What do you think about the universe being alive? In the sense that it responds to you.
I completely believe in it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like you put things out there and generally you get back what you ask for. Like you ask the universe. I don't know. You know, Paulo Coelho, is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. The Alchemist.
Coelho, yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
when you ask the universe for something, the universe hears you and responds. Like I do believe in that. I actually have a tattoo.
Oh, snaps.
It's like a Buddhist infinity knot, and it just like speaks to like the interconnectedness of the universe, like how your decisions affect other decisions, and like how like, you know, I definitely believe in that. Like,
true.
Yeah. I don't know. This world is like, it's weird to me. Like 9 months ago, I was saying that like I want to buy a house by the time I turn 25.
Yeah.
And I made that proclamation.
Yeah.
And had I not made that proclamation, like I wouldn't be here right now. And it's like, you know, like the first time, like I guess not the first time, but like putting this out to the universe, this is what I want, and getting it back. You know, it's like you can't not believe that there's something working there, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So,
true.
yeah. Yeah. Are you religious at all? Or?
I mean, yes. Yes and no. You know, I was raised in the church.
Same.
Until I was 18, and then I came to college and didn't really go to church. Then I found a church, but like things just started getting overwhelming enough for me to not feel like I had time on Sundays to go. And also I really just enjoy going with my grandma.
Okay.
Excuse me. Because my grandma is actually a reverend, and she was like, you know, actually an active part of the church of like being on the pulpit. Like it was so amazing to see her up on the, up in the pulpit with the preacher and all this other stuff, and like being in that world and like really functioning in that sense. I didn't feel as connected when I left.
Yeah.
But I will say that I am highly, highly, highly spiritual. In the sense that I really kind of look at all sides. I take the ideas of Buddhism mostly. Try to look into the Tao, however it looks like Tao, but I believe it's pronounced Tao.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though.
Like, because when some people say
Taoisms, right? Okay.
And I'm like, that's a T. What are you doing? But yeah, like into all of the things that are part of the East, I'm also really into. Like, also looking into things that are like, you know, astrological things, because I do believe that the planets, because of energy and stuff, I'm also into like metaphysics. Yeah. So I kind of like add everything all together, like thinking about.
That's a lot to think about.
It is. But like I love it, but like I think I need to chill. I think I need to chill a little bit. But I think about how the energies of the planets really affect us and how we function down here, because we are very small in comparison to those big old entities.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you think about electromagnetic, you know, fields, and you think about like how the sun throws out, you know, gamma rays and, you know, bursts, like the sun bursts and all the other stuff, and like how the moon just revolves around everything and the planets revolve around everything. So I kind of think about all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think about, you know, spirituality in the sense of like how our souls are energy, but also how we are also like not a space. We don't necessarily occupy space in a sense.
Yeah.
We're like more expansive than what we think we are.
Yeah.
So that on top of just thinking about, you know, just religion in a sense, like Christianity, and like I'm really trying to get into, there's this thing where people say that Jesus was a person, but also like a consciousness, so to speak, like Christ consciousness. Like we all should have Christ consciousness.
I've never heard of this term before. Like, what
yeah,
is, like,
you know,
it's a way of thought.
I would, yeah,
okay,
yeah, I would say so. Like it's interesting to check into, check up on. But yeah, Christ consciousness is like the thing that Jesus, the Christ, is what they say. Embodied, like what Christ consciousness, like if you ever needed to know what Christ consciousness was, you just have to read about Jesus.
Okay.
And that's what it is. But I think it is probably a little bit more expansive than that. So trying to think of like Jesus not just as the
savior.
Yeah. Like trying to think of him as an actual person that had actual feelings.
Okay.
But also for me, like also being able to embody God.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, we all are a part of God.
In the way that, like, he showed love in that sort of way. Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's really what I'm like. So I'm like, yes, and in the sense of like just learning about all that, but also like taking it from the perspective of like what was Jesus' spirit like, and then what was he like as a human? Because that's what we all should be understanding, that we are much more than what a lot of humans think that we are. We're not just the flesh and bone.
Yeah.
You know, like we are much more than that, and we can connect on a lot of different levels that. And we have powers, you know, just as Jesus had them to be able to heal people, we do as well. You know, we just have to, tap into it. And it's hard to do with the society that's been built.
Yeah, it is. That's true. That's a very deep topic.
That is super. That's what I think about all the time.
Yeah. But I think it's spirituality. I feel like we focus too much on religion instead of spirituality.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what you're saying, like as far as like the way that society's been built, like we're not like really programmed to go any deeper.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Because I think there's a lot more to it. Like, you know, they're saying that they, as in a lot of people who are more spiritual, are saying that the Bible is not necessarily like literal. Like you could, if you take it literally, I mean, ooh.
Right.
But like there's a lot of like lessons in that. There's a lot of stuff that's a little bit deeper, like if you understood it on
like a parable.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like symbolism. The symbolism in it is probably just out of this world, but people don't really understand what's being symbolized and what's being represented in it, and have a very literal sense of things. And sometimes we can't take things literally because we will miss some big old lessons that we should be learning.
Yeah.
So just trying to combine everything, because there's not just one truth, you know. It's like there's a lot of truths out there. So it's like trying to find my own truth within all that, you know, experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all searching for now.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I feel like especially millennials, like we've realized that like we're not just gonna accept what you tell us.
Right.
Anymore.
Right.
You know? Like
No, not
we're
at
gonna
all.
sit here, we're gonna ask questions, we're gonna figure it out, and like what's true for you might not be true for me. Like, and I feel like we're a lot better at accepting that part where it's like we can have differing opinions about things that aren't racist, sexist, or transphobic.
Right.
And it can be okay in that way.
I agree. I agree. It's holding space for all that. I think we have a lot more our capacity is bigger for understanding.
Yeah.
And compassion, even though it may not seem that way sometimes. I think it's probably a little easier for us, considering that we've grown up in two different eras, I would say. I feel like we kind of grew up in the era of
before social media and after
social media. We've seen how all of that has like shifted.
I hope y'all enjoyed that. One of my favorite parts about this conversation was not leaving everything that they learned behind when looking for new ways to understand and explore their world. So next we'll be talking with Shelby, and Shelby will tell us more about how she got into astrology and how she feels about the astro apps and the quick social media style judgment of people and their signs.
So having Instagram being in my life for such a long period of time, I feel like I've kind of always had a brand. Mm-hmm. My brand is just that I like to share a lot of shit. Like I share what I'm feeling, I share what I'm creating, and in that I've like connected with a lot of people, and people see me as, I guess, just an artist who's willing to connect with other people. Mm-hmm. So just trying to stay consistent, you know, being open to talking to people, to connecting, and not limiting what I share. Just here's all the art. Here's all the feelings. So I guess that's the brand. It's just big Pisces energy.
Pisces,
I'm
me
a Pisces
too.
moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's strong, though. It's strong.
Okay. Okay, so I have a theory, and I don't have any basis in this because I'm not really that into astrology. But I'm trying to, like, you know, kind of get into it and understand, because I feel like it teaches you more about yourself, and like if you learn how to deal with yourself, you have a better life. But anyway, so I have a theory that your moon sign is the people that like, it's like you make good friends with people who are your moon sign.
I can totally see that.
Okay.
Yeah, because your moon is your sense of like your emotions and what is under the surface, and I think when you're willing to connect with people on that level, like that which has been like repressed or maybe like taught to come out a certain way, you know, like we're a very non-emotional culture. Yeah. When you can connect with somebody on that level, you're like, oh my god, you're just like me, and it's just like this instant connection.
Okay, that makes sense, because it's like you're like, oh my god, you get exactly what I'm feeling, and like you're displaying it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
No, I love Pisces placements.
So I follow you on Twitter, so I know that you're like into astrology, and I just kind of want to get into that conversation, like, so for people, where would you say, for someone who's like not that well versed in astrology, where do you start?
I would definitely start with the planets, and I think this resonates with the planets and like mythology, and I think that resonates with a lot of people. So I identify as queer. There's always that running joke that like most queer kids liked Greek mythology. You know, it's just like something that I guess people are drawn to, and it's the whole thing of archetypes. So when you look at the myths, these are just archetypes of human expression, human behavior, and they tell a story. It's just like tarot, or I guess any other thing that has like, there are characters with arcs, and you get to look to those arcs to see how you can live your life. So when you're looking at astrology, looking at the different gods and goddesses and also the planets, and seeing what they rule over, and seeing how they have domains over different parts of the human experience, and that really helped me to understand. So like Jupiter, you have this god of like abundance and wealth and like philosophy, and then you look to the different signs that Jupiter rules, and then you look in your own chart, and you're like, oh, I see how that kind of connects. Okay. So that's like the foundation for how I started.
Interesting, because I never connected astrology to the gods, and thinking about it like that, I have to like go back, and because Greek and Roman mythology, like it's the same thing, but
different names for it, but it's so essentially like
Zeus is Jupiter.
Exactly. And then even with Aries, the god of war, you think of the literal sign of Aries, but also the planets that are associated with that, and it's Mars, and so that kind of helps to put in, or Venus, Aphrodite, love. Wow, it really clicks. And then
my god,
you get into days of the week, dude. So like Sunday. How do you say Sunday in Spanish? Do you know?
I only know French.
Domingo.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't really work. Okay, we'll do Mercury. So Wednesday, miércoles, Mercury, and Wednesday is like the day of the week that's observed by Mercury, and so it just kind of helps, and you're like, okay, Wednesday is associated with like communication and all that stuff that connects back to Mercury. So if you know like Latin, it really helps with all the different languages.
Wow.
And,
Oh my God. No, this is like, because Mercury, I was like, the messenger.
Yes,
you know, like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, and it all comes back around. So it is really easy to get into astrology if you just kind of like cast the net really wide and see how things connect. Because if you're looking at just like a blog, or you're just trying to like read one book, I feel like that confines you. You know, you have to root it in your own experience.
Yeah.
So
it's part of being like a scholar, I guess.
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
you really do have to study it, and you do have to get different sources.
Yeah, multiple lens.
Yeah, exactly. What is like one thing that you see about like people getting into astrology that kind of like bugs you?
Yeah, I think people using astrology to like psychoanalyze people they don't know is really weird and intrusive to me.
Yeah.
Like I've always said that you should never look at the chart of somebody that you don't want to get to know on a deeper level, because your chart is like a blueprint of who you are. And so you're learning someone's love languages by looking at their chart. So if you're using the chart to justify why you don't like them, why do it?
Yeah.
You know, why are you looking at people's charts to further be like, oh yeah, like fuck Virgos, or oh yeah, like I always knew you were manipulative, like this is why. It's just like the chart should be a way for you to open up your heart so you can understand people on their terms. So when I see people like generalizing or just not really coming from a place of love, it's really disheartening, because this is like a sacred science that can tell you so much about how to heal. So yeah, I think people coming at it from like weird intentions is just kind of off-putting.
I guess like it's a place of like almost manipulation.
Yeah. And like justifying your own ego. It's very rooted in ego, and so you're just kind of like, well, what's the point? Like, you're just talking shit.
So, I have a friend. I think, do you know Michelle? Have you met Michelle?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you'll probably meet her soon.
You went to high school with her?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I know her. Maybe I've met her once.
You've
or
definitely
twice.
seen her, at least because she through the Christmas party.
Okay,
me and
yeah.
Shane.
Yes, okay, I remember that photo. You guys are so cute.
Oh. They're like the best photos I got that year, so.
Yeah.
She does birth charts, but her thing is, if you send me the birth chart of someone that's not you, then I need to have their consent in order for me to read it and give you a reading. So.
That is so important. I think a lot of people who are like professional astrologers, they understand that boundary. Like it's like patient confidentiality. Like you also want the patient's consent. You want the client's consent.
Exactly.
Like,
it's like HIPAA laws or something.
Yeah, that's really awesome that she does that.
Yeah.
And that that's like something she makes very clear. Yeah, I respect that.
So the apps. Gotta talk about the apps, right?
Turn those notifications off, man. Oh my God. Like, CoStar be coming for people too. Like, and the first thing in the morning, it's like, so how do you really see yourself, and is that translating in the real world? And you're like, bro, I just woke up. I'm really just trying to get a glass of water. Like, I'm literally just trying to go about my day, and you're coming for me. And in a way that doesn't even really encourage that like self-reflection that I think astrology is supposed to initiate. Exactly. Yeah, you're just kind of like, you feel shitty about yourself. Yeah, you feel bad. You're like, oh, like everyone's talking shit about this placement, or maybe I'm just like, you just start to talk down on yourself. And yeah, I think the apps just bombard people in a really weird way.
Can you like turn the notification to it, like what time does it come in? Can you like change that, or like?
I have no idea. Okay. So I used to have CoStar, and I deleted that shit. Yeah. I was like, I can't do it. And now I still kind of use the pattern, but it comes in pretty consistently, and I haven't figured out a way to turn it off, so I might just delete it. Okay. You know, I don't.
Actually, I do like. Okay, so I never had CoStar, but I did have the pattern for a while. Like I had like a new phone, like a temporary phone for a while, so I had it on there. I haven't put it on my new phone, but the thing I did like about the pattern was that I feel like it actually gave you like little tidbits to like think about. Like you could use those little blurbs as like, you're like, oh, let me actually like journal about this and like think about this deeper prompts. And like, yeah, exactly. So I did kind of like that, and also like it did, I think, help calm a little bit of my anxiety about just like life and stuff, where it's just like, you know what, you know, this is just a like it felt like it was like walking you through life.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you look at the long-term calendar and you get to see all these charts that'll unfold in the next 10 months, and it just makes you feel a little bit better. You're like, okay, everything is temporary.
Yeah.
None of this is permanent, and it's all in service of your growth. So yeah, that's why I do respect the pattern. It's like it gives you the bigger picture, and then it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with that?
Yeah,
It's in your hands.
I really appreciated Shelby's respect for the study of astrology and understanding the, I guess, boundaries and limitations that should be included when we think about astrology. I wasn't joking when I said that you guys will meet Michelle soon, because she is the next guest that I will be highlighting on this episode. Michelle tells us about her Astrology 101 YouTube channel, which you guys should definitely go check out. She does a really great job of explaining things, and she really delves into the study of astrology in this conversation. So here we go.
Anyways, so yes, I'm starting an astrology YouTube channel. It's an Astrology 101 series. My astrology persona is the 8th house siren. So it's going to be Astrology 101 with the 8th house siren. And it's just going to be like a 101 because, okay, I don't know if y'all are on Twitter, but these astrology Twitter accounts, they are real rough with people. Like, people will ask questions and then they'll attack them.
Yeah.
Like, someone will ask a simple question. They'll be like, they'll subtweet them or quote tweet them talking about, oh, people want to ask all these questions without paying for a reading. It's like, if your reading is extensive, right, and then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in a reading, then you wouldn't mind answering one question, because a reading is so much.
Yeah.
So I just think they're really mean to people. When people get things wrong on Twitter, they attack them. I watch it all the time. So my channel is going to be a safe space.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm not a part of like Astro Twitter at all, but I do hear a lot about like credibility, I guess.
It's an issue.
Yeah.
It's a really big issue. Which also, like, yeah, I'm gonna try to like give references, like give book references at the end and things like that. Just, I want it to be like a classroom, you know, because I feel like Twitter has just taken astrology to a place it didn't really have to go.
I think Twitter takes most things to a place where they don't have to go.
Yeah,
like.
exactly. Also, I've noticed that astrology has become a white thing, and I hate that. Like, there'll be descriptions of like, you know, this transit is going on, and I'll read it, and I'm just like, okay, I feel like this is very dense. Like, this reading is very dense to like things that are going on. I don't know. I just feel
feel like it's like not informed enough, like by
it's
other...
not it's not informed enough, because they make these sweeping statements, right? Like, if you're a Leo rising, you're gonna be like, they'll say like, if you're a Leo rising, now is a great time to quit your job and start your freelance work. And I'm like, okay, first of all, do you know how much responsibility you're holding by putting out something like that? Like, you have people that are really listening to you, and you have people in all sorts of financial situations, or like, you know, when they talk about placements that deal with appearance, it's always about blue eyes, blonde hair. Yeah. And it's just annoying.
Yeah, I feel that.
So
where does astrology come from? Like, what culture? Is it like specific, or is it just like ancient? Like,
well, it's nothing but studying the patterns of events that happened as it aligns with like how the planets are. So it's ancient.
Yeah.
You know, people used to use it for fertility. When is a good time to, like, I don't know, make this law, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it's nothing but studying patterns. It's not a magical thing. Like, you know, Mars isn't tapping people on the shoulder like, you get these magical powers. It's just patterns. That's all it is.
So how do you know, like, how do you know when it's actually a pattern?
It just takes a lot of studying. So, like, before all of these books were published, patterns were studied for a long period of time. And once, like, they were able to prove the pattern, I guess that's when they came out with the first astrology book. I don't know how that, you know, how publishing worked back then. But that's literally all it is. So if you look back on like different epidemics or different political, I guess, patterns, you'll see it. And then there's generational planets and personal planets. So generational planets, if you just, I would advise if someone's like really interested in like the patterns of astrology, pay more attention to the generational planets because they affect entire generations. So you can see it by large. So maybe check out a book on Saturn or check out a book on Pluto.
Wait, like they just have books like on the planets, like this is what this planet represents.
Yeah.
Wow.
A whole entire book's on just
Wow.
one. So because I feel like it can be overwhelming to read about all, you know. So I would advise, like, if someone really like wants to get into it, just take your time. You know what I'm saying? Like, Twitter makes it seem like you can't take your time, but you can.
I feel like for me, I've been wanting to like kind of research more, but it's about, I don't know, like I want to know, like, I guess where to start.
Shoot, I was supposed to be giving you a book too.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about this last year.
Dang. Okay, I would start by just learning the signs and their planetary rulerships. So like Aries is ruled by Mars. And its natural house is the first. So if you just learn that for each sign, I feel like one should start there. Then you should like pay attention to each one individually. So once you like memorize the planetary rulerships, then start back with Aries. Maybe check out a book on Mars impact or something like that. Learn Mars, then learn the next planet and the next planet.
Oh my God. And okay, so like once you have all of this information, which seems like it's gonna take like fucking forever, what do you like do with it? Like I know that you do like birth charts, but like generally, like how does learning astrology help you?
I want to start by saying I didn't really get interested in astrology until I learned that it wasn't all about personality traits. I kind of hate that that's what it's reduced to sometimes, because that's not helpful. Like, you learn who you are by experiencing life.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like it because it gives concrete information. So you could look at what the moon is doing to figure out when to schedule a job interview. If the moon is void, then you don't want to schedule a job interview because it being void would make it so that there's no outcome. Like it's like you learn certain rules.
Yeah.
You want an outcome to a job interview. So
wait, so does you actually notice these patterns in your own life when you like study like the different patterns of things happening?
So what I had to do is I had to look at history like before, because I was kind of in disbelief.
Yeah. It's a very large concept to put your mind around.
Yeah, it is. So I just looked at because surprisingly very few books lay this out for you, but like laying out certain events in history and the placements, you kind of have to put that together yourself, unfortunately. So that's a book idea. If you're really good at astrology
and history,
yeah, you should probably do that. Anyways, so like, you know, you just, one example, this is such a broad example, but I'm not really good at thinking on my toes. But so the AIDS epidemic, Pluto was in Scorpio. Pluto is a generational planet. Scorpio rules the reproductive organs, sex organs. Pluto's going to stay in the same place for a long ass time. People who are our generation that have Scorpio and Pluto, it happened in the 90s. So I just feel like ever since then, I feel like STDs have kind of been a theme. So that's just one very small.
Wow. Is Pluto still in Scorpio? Example.
No. Pluto is in Capricorn right now.
Oh, okay.
Capricorn rules
is that like a
government.
decade-long thing then?
Decade, 12 years probably.
Oh, okay.
It's not always, give or take, 12 years. So I think it's interesting that it's Capricorn rules government. So
that's why everything's fucked right now.
So I think that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. And before that, it was in Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules like foreign, like international affairs, religion. During that time, that's when like the Catholic Church was exposed.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. These are very surface level examples. So
It's interesting to think about though. But so what's the next one? It's Capricorn and then Aquarius?
then it'll be an Aquarius.
Oh. And what is Aquarius known for?
Unpredictable.
All right, so the world's just about to end.
Like, no. You heard it here first. Unpredictable events, instant fame, technology. So that's good. I mean, we might get new technology.
Yeah, I mean,
well, we always are
naturally.
Getting new
Yeah,
technology. Yeah. So, yeah, the world's gonna end.
I really appreciate Michelle's extensive knowledge of astrology, because one thing that I learned about her on another podcast that she did is that she's been studying astrology literally since high school. So she has like a literal decade of knowledge about this very new thing to me. So next, we're actually going to flip to the other side and talk to someone who doesn't necessarily like astrology that much, Deondre. And he tells me about, his understanding of what religion should be and how he should be in this world. I am my emotions also.
Yeah, like I am like, yes, I am like someone who is like generally emotional. But I try and handle that shit myself,
So I know you don't believe in astrology, but they do say that Pisces are emotional.
Isn't everyone emotional though? Man,
yeah.
I feel like
I don't know.
I feel like maybe it's time that I like just like publicly, because I don't think I've said this on my podcast.
Yeah.
That I'm just like so aggressively not into astrology.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm like, I don't know. So I'm not into religion, so it's like you have to find some sort of way to like orient yourself. And I feel like astrology is a great way for the next generation that's coming up and moving away from religion to orient themselves and, like positively orient themselves, like as, what do you even call it? I'm trying to think, as something that's greater than yourself. Back in high school, my English teacher, he introduced us to David Foster Wallace, who has a Kenyan Convincing speech, which I would recommend that everybody listens to. And in that speech, he talks about like, if you worship beauty, then you'll die a million deaths before they finally plant you. And basically what he's trying to say is like, if you worship money, then you'll always feel poor. If you worship like your intellect, then you'll always feel dumb. So you have to find something that's greater than yourself to orient yourself and, in order to live a fulfilling life, basically.
Yeah. I think that that's true. And that's why I try to not, I feel like this is one of my newest points of development in like the last couple of years of my life, where I try not to like shit on things that people like, Yeah. Like, unless it's like,
wait, this is like a new thing. What were you doing before?
I was actively shitting on things that people like. I was like, oh, you like astrology? That's dumb. No, I think that.
Were you a bully?
I wasn't a bully. I was. Yeah, I was. Do you know how in like middle and high school there were like those kids that are like, I tell the truth. I'm a straight shooter.
Right.
Like I was one of those shitty kids, like where like, and I think that's like it's all very important for the evolution that I acknowledge like that kind of kid is like valuable but still shitty, and I think that I was that kid.
Yeah.
And I think that I reformed.
Damn. That's definitely how I'm gonna refer to my past self always.
Like I think that I've reformed from that kid to like I have a lot of strong opinions within myself, but also. And I think this is one of the things that, like specifically in the last 3 or 4 years, I've learned that like everyone's doing their own thing and rocking their own thing, and I think that's very valuable.
Yeah.
And I do think there's a lot of value in trying to contextualize yourself within the world that you live in. I have chosen to like remove myself from sort of anything that is like faith driven, or anything that says that something is like some like mythical force is like pulling or pushing people in a certain way. And
so what do you believe in?
Spiritually?
Yeah.
I was raised Baptist, Christian generally.
Yeah.
And I grew up believing in pretty strongly in God. But I didn't have a good upbringing. And so I feel like that was one of the ways that I was kind of trying to like
transcend that upbringing.
Yeah, like I mean, I knew that as a kid, I knew that I wasn't having a good time, right? You know, I didn't know like the extent of like why my circumstances were making me feel not good, but I knew I wasn't having a good time, and I knew that like God and like Christianity was kind of sold to me as a way to make yourself eventually have a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I grew up like praying to myself, but really to myself, because we didn't go to church. I was raised by my grandparents, and they were both like, they both had cancer for like as long as I can remember.
Oh.
And so like things like going to church, like they didn't have the strength to take me to church, you know. So, but they were both like very, very Christian.
Yeah.
So I got like their brand of Christianity.
Yeah, Southern
you
Black
know?
right there.
Yeah. So, but the point of me saying that is that since then, I think that I went through like at 14 and 15, like a revolution of sorts where I was like, I don't think that like if God exists, he would do this. Like, I don't think he would like, I was like, I don't think like God would like send gay people to hell because like they're gay.
What
like,
if you're doing everything right, but you're gay?
Yeah. Like and those kinds of, I was like a very existential little kid. And so those kinds of thoughts really troubled me. And then I started learning about philosophy and learning about like sort of like thought experiments and testing things to their most extreme nature. And so in my head I was like testing these sort of like arbitrary things that like people were telling me about Christianity, like, you know, like if you don't believe in God, you're going to hell. And then immediately I'd be like, well, what about all the people that like no one told them about God? Like, are they going to go to hell?
Yeah.
You know, like there's billions of people on this planet, or probably, I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of people on this planet that have probably literally never heard of Christianity or never really got a chance with it.
Yeah.
You know, and as a kid that really troubled me. So I don't I think fast forwarding to now, I don't know. I guess I would, if I had to put myself into like a category, I would say agnostic.
Okay.
In the sense where like I don't have strong feelings as to whether there is or isn't a God, you know? I think that I was raised believing in like heaven and hell and stuff like that, you know? And like I think that I am perfectly okay with like trying to be the best person that I can be, being like Christ-like for a lack of like
better
like
term.
and to me it's like there's a lot of pros.
A more encompassing term is what I want to say.
Yeah. There's a lot of pros and not a lot of negs. If there aren't, like, if heaven isn't a thing, which, you know, I, like, if you ask me to put money on whether it's a thing or not, I would say no, right?
Yeah. I feel like Deondre's perspective of agnosticism and spirituality resonates with a lot of millennials. I think it resonates with me a lot also, but I don't know. I really enjoy the mystical side of things. So the supernatural and all of the things that are more magical. So next we'll actually be moving to talk to Marlana about her form of spirituality. And, you know, she started in the church also, but then she moved on to a more spiritual practice. So let's get started with that.
Actually, I watched it for a while. Honestly, a coworker, actually, surprisingly enough, told me about the YouTubes because I get a lot of dreams and prophetic dreams. And so she was like, you know, you should probably look on YouTube, look at some of the different like tarot readers and astrologists and things of that nature. And so she just kind of introduced me to it one day, and I was just like, And I was like, wow. And then some of the people really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a Christian household, so I had already been kind of exploring outside of church.
Yeah.
I had already been exploring what could increase my power. So this was kind of right up my alley.
Okay. So what exactly is your channel about?
Actually, it's intuitive tarot reading. So I
Okay.
do readings, I do inspirational, motivational messages, whatever comes through me from spirit, I communicate. So I do channeling, I get channeled messages. So I pretty much just put it out there to the masses, and I love it because
Yeah.
it allows me to bring forth messages, and I love to get the comments, the good comments rather, because with social media you're gonna get the take the good with the bad, but I love to hear the comments of wow, I needed to hear that today, or you really boost my self-esteem today, or I needed to know that it's okay for me to feel this way, so. When I see comments like that, it really, reminds me why I'm doing it.
How do you decide when you're gonna read the tarot cards?
Oh, well, I actually do it per sign for
Okay.
each zodiac sign.
Oh, okay.
So every month I do a reading for each zodiac sign.
Oh, wow,
and
that sounds
then,
interesting.
So it's a monthly. I do a monthly where I pretty much interpret the energy for the entire month for you.
Yeah.
So I did it for September, and then I interpret the month. But usually people really want to hear more about love.
That's true.
So what I'd rather do is just interpret how you're feeling for the month. But I also like to kind of, because I'm nosy, I kind of also like to get into the love as well. And people like to hear that. But so I do also like a weekly love reading when I can, when I'm not extremely busy. So, and again, of course, that's very helpful too. And then I continue with an extended love reading over on Vimeo, where for those people who it really resonates with, they can kind of go look and see, get the advice.
Yeah.
What are the blockages with your relationship? Things of that nature.
Okay. I have a lot of friends who are into astrology and kind of tarot card readings and stuff like that. And I always wonder, where do you get your knowledge from? How do you learn about this?
Okay, so that goes back to your previous message, your previous question. So prior to me coming onto YouTube, I was actually behind the scenes with other tarot readers.
Okay.
So one in particular, who I kind of worked with, and I already had my cards. I actually got cards at least 15 or 16 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I got my first deck of cards. Okay, I just want to try it out, And then, and because I was still really into the church and all that as well, I still was kind of well, let me just try. But I was already dabbling into, mantras.
Yeah.
And I never really went to yoga, but I was I really want to try yoga. But no, I also got into Reiki and other spiritual healing, energy healing.
Yeah.
So I kind of went that route first, but I started off as a true, with my daughter, really, I started off doing natural birthing. So that was kind of the beginning stages of my naturopathic learning. And so I started off with the natural birthing. Then when my daughter came, I wanted to do everything all natural with her.
Yeah.
I wanted to have her all naturally. And then when she started having bad allergy issues, then I went to naturopath. The doctors were put on a nebulizer, give her the medicine, give her this, give her that. And I was no, I don't want to have my daughter on all these steroids. I mean, she's less than one. Come on, she's 4 months. So I just had to find other ways of healing. And then in the same process, I kind of went through my own health issues, and then I wanted to go the natural way. And I had a doctor call me delusional because I refused to want to get surgery. So I went the naturopathic way and was healed. So it's just a lot of things that kind of it's like life. Honestly, it was like life kind of maneuvering me to more and more things that weren't actually, that weren't actually the status quo, westernized thinking. So it's just, I kept going on this path of what else? It has to be other options. There has to be. And so that kind of went also with the whole church thing as well. And I love church as well. And I love the spirit there, but the limitations there, I wanted to grow. And then I always knew in the way I grew up, tarot reading and all these things, that witchcraft, and you can't get into these other things. So it was always a limitation. And yet I was but can you help me with my gifts? Because I'm getting these gifts. I have all of these, for lack of a better word, powers. These supernatural abilities. Yeah. And I'm exploring, but I could not explore there.
Okay.
So
you're not religious, or you don't belong to a church right now?
Well, I still belong to a church. Do I go as often? No. I kind of cut it back a few years ago. after I got a message, which I know my pastor would probably tell me I didn't mean it like that, when I needed a message, because I was looking into other religions.
Yeah.
I was looking into Yoruba, I was looking into Buddhism, I was looking into anything, honestly, that would uplift women to their power.
Yeah.
And I was looking for someone to tell me it was okay to step into my power.
Yeah.
And I wasn't finding it.
Well, you didn't find that in Yoruba or Buddhism?
I didn't find it in any of it, really.
Okay.
Especially because actually I was kind of looking for where do you actually grow fully. And I didn't go into depth in any of these religions, let me make it clear. Like I was like researching, reading. I was like, no, that's not it. This is not for me. This is not for me. And so that's kind of what I did. I was just really searching. And I just still wasn't finding it. Because I was looking for someone to really step me into my power. Like, I need you to tell me, you know what? You are the bomb diggity, and you can do anything you want, no matter where you came from, no matter what your education is, no matter what you've done, no matter what. Someone who wouldn't judge people, who wouldn't feel like, okay, just because you came from here, you're limited, or just because you came from this pedigree, you're better, or just because you ... went to this school, you're ... I was looking for someone who wouldn't judge.
Yeah. So did you find that?
Not really. So I went back to church.
Yeah.
And so when I went back to church, then I was like, okay, you know, God, I need a message from you. And then I swear to you, the pastor gave like the most powerful message I've ever heard from him. And it was like, you have the power. You do have the power to do all of these things. Not specifically what I was, you know, but it was just a message of power, and that you can overcome any challenge, and that you're not who you were, or you're not where you came from, or you're not where. I mean, the message was amazing. I bought 5 CDs. I don't even know where the CDs are today, but I bought so many, and I passed them out to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you need to hear this message. And then after that, I didn't really return back. Because I just needed you to say it was okay for me to just walk into my power, walk into my authenticity, walk into who I was. Yeah. And then once I've probably gone back like once because someone like invited me, or there was something going on or something like that. But as far as on a regular basis, every Sunday, that type of thing.
Yeah. I grew up in the church also. So I was like going to church every Sunday basically until college. And then once I got to college, I was like, I don't really get much from going here. Yeah. So I just stopped going to church. Like, and I haven't really been back except for like maybe like Easter or like Christmas or something. Yeah. But I feel like a lot of millennials kind of have this thing where we just kind of like pick certain parts of religions that we like and kind of like make your own belief system about the universe and everything.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
why not? And that's what I totally agree with, because it's really what resonates with you. Yeah. Not what resonates with the person on the pulpit, because the person on the pulpit is going to give their perception of the Bible. Yeah. Even the Bible is a don't get me started, is a it's been translated based on someone's perception, King James perception, the translations, all of that, to create the Bible. Yeah. Your translation of something that was totally written in, written in Arabic? Or something like that, I think. I don't even know. Yeah, it was something like that. But, and I could be saying it wrong, but the point is it was translated in that person's perception. And then most of the people that are on the pulpit, they're given their perception of verses. Exactly, yeah. But if you read that verse, and if you read the Bible, and, and I went through that phase too, where I wanted to read the entire Bible. And when I was reading, and I was like, they don't talk about this in church, did they forget about this Bible verse? I've been going to church since I was, 1. And I remember, and I'm like, I don't remember this. I don't remember that. Where is all of this?
All right. So we are now at the end of our episode. I will make sure that I tag everybody that was featured in this episode in the description. And also, check them out on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever. They all have very interesting things going on, from podcasts to YouTube channels to just creating art. So please, show them some love. And if you want to check out the full versions of their podcast, those are also available. Just, I'll have those in the description also. Please let me know about how y'all felt about this episode. If you have any topics that you want me to sort of like put together and pull files from, then I can see what we have in the archive. Other than that, I will be back soon with another highlight episode, and I hope that y'all are enjoying it and staying safe. If you enjoyed this episode or other episodes of Nice to Meet You, please retweet, share, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can do that on Instagram and Twitter at NCNY Podcast. If you would like to subscribe to the podcast, you can do that on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, or just something that you want to share, you can send those emails to ntnypodcast@gmail.com. Thank y'all for listening, and I will see you next week.